so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic, spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people, there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really, Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me on this terrific Tuesday. I'm back after a little hiatus. We took Thursday, Thanksgiving off, which was a nice little break, a little self-care day, a little time to spend with family. And for us, we didn't go anywhere this year. We was just ourselves and our immediate family at home, which was really, really nice and quiet. And I was super grateful for it. And I just been thinking about gratitude all week, really. It's just been obviously the theme of Thanksgiving. And so just a little reminder about being grateful for every little thing, for every big thing, for the air we breathe, the roof over our head, the food in our mouths, for the warmth of a cozy fire on a cold night, and just simply getting together with family, which, at the holidays can be a little challenging at times. But the fact that that you even have a family to get together with is something to be super grateful for. Not everyone has that. I know for myself, I only have one living elder in my immediate family. So it's interesting the perspective I have on being grateful for the family that I do have. And maybe if our family is a little challenging to deal with, to hang out with, well, maybe we can look at it and be grateful for those reflections that they are showing us, those things that we came into this life to learn, because our family is our first opportunity to learn these chosen lessons. And so we can look at them and say, thank you so much for this opportunity for me to learn, for this catalyst in my growth experience. Thank you so much for helping me grow and expand and understand myself more. So just a little reminder for this holiday season to be grateful for every little thing, every big thing that is in your world. And speaking of gratitude, I just want to say how grateful I am for Sarah Rusk. Sarah, as many of you know, is our editor. She's the one responsible for getting all of these shows released and out to you on a daily basis. And she puts a lot of work in, and she puts up with all of my shenanigans. I am seriously not easy sometimes with all the things that I screw up. I'm like, Sarah, oh no. So she always helps me out and is amazing about it. And I kind of had one of those moments this week, and I was talking to her, and I just had this thought to ask her if she had any ideas or questions that she'd like me to address. And of course she did. And so here is her question. Or not so much a question, but just a great topic to discuss. So she says, I am the type of person that everyone goes to when they need advice. I'm a good listener and provide different perspectives. I love it, but it can be draining sometimes. I've been on the path of self-enlightenment for a while now, and it shows within my friend group. I've encountered something frustrating when I've had bad days or went through something, and I would try to talk with friends about it. They would always tell me, you shouldn't be complaining or upset. You're the strong one. That used to bother me so much, but now I'm finding wisdom in those words. I've discovered that there is no need for me to go outside of myself. All of my, quote, problems and troubles can be solved from going within and understanding that every situation happening is there to make me more. Hell yeah, it is, Sarah. I love this so much. I really resonate with this because I'm that person too. That person that everybody goes to for advice. Go figure. I'm a really, really good listener. And I can see the white and the black and all the gray in between, and I can understand it all. And what's great about that is that comes from our empathy. And anytime we are able to be that person for someone, it's because they're recognizing that we are empathetic, that we can sit and we can listen and we can say, I'm here with you. Even though we know there's nothing that we could do about that for that person. There's nothing that we could change for them, but just to be there is such a powerful thing and such a beautiful gift to give to someone. But you're right, it can be a little draining, especially if it's a consistent thing and, you know, who is helping you, right? Because when you're the strong one, people assume that you don't need the help because you got this, right? Just like if you've had a bad day, like you said, and someone said to you that you shouldn't be complaining or you shouldn't be upset. And I love how you looked at that now, or you're looking at it now as from that place of wisdom and using it as a reminder to say, oh yeah, let me get back in my vortex, right? Let me get back in that place of inner knowing where I know that I have all the answers, that I don't need to complain about what's going on around me because this is all happening for me. And that's a beautiful, very powerful way to look at this. But when I read this too, I also thought of the flip side of it. The side that isn't so powerful. The side that maybe looks powerful, but is really just weakness in disguise. And I know this because I've done this myself in my journey, being a strong person, that I've used that as like a armor, that when I didn't want to be weak or show any vulnerability, that instead I would put a wall up around my heart so that way I could protect myself and always be strong. But what that really is just weakness. And speaking of vulnerability, what vulnerability really is strength. And when we have the strength to be vulnerable, that's where all the courage is. That's where all the magic happens in life. That's where the empathy is. Because you can't be empathetic with someone without being vulnerable. And being vulnerable takes strength. It takes a lot of strength, takes a lot of courage. Not the false strength, though. This false strength of the wall. And we put that wall up when we're pushing emotions away. And so that's just one thing that I want to talk about here is how important it is to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to feel the feelings. So if you're a strong person and you're having a bad day, that's all right. It's okay to have weak moments. Strong people are allowed to be weak. It's like this misconception that we have in our society that strong is good and weak is bad. It depends on how you look at that, right? There's a lot of strength in owning up to your weaknesses or owning up to the fact that I'm having a weak day. And that's all right, because in these moments of weakness, that's where I learn to be strong. That's where I get my strength from, is through all of these times where I've been weak. And how did I get myself out of it? Just like you said, Sarah, going within, knowing that you can solve all of your problems within you, knowing that you are connected to this grand whole in unity and oneness. There is so much strength in that. That's where we really step into our power, being in touch with our inner being, and the knowing of our unity and feeling the strength that comes from that, and knowing from that place that yes, everything, absolutely everything is happening for me. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We must ourselves walk the path." And the greatest power that we have within us comes from our hearts. Alfred Lord Tennyson said, "My strength is as the strength of 10, because my heart is pure." And when your heart is pure, you don't have those walls build up, those fake strength walls. Those walls are down because you are okay with being vulnerable. Brene Brown says that vulnerability is our greatest measure of courage. That you can't get to courage without first walking through vulnerability. And if you think about that, it's so true. You have to have the courage to be authentically you, to just show up and be seen and have no expectations, no guarantees. Do things if you're afraid or not, especially if you're afraid. Having that kind of courage takes a lot of vulnerability. I'm going to play a Brene Brown clip in a minute, but an interesting thing I heard her say also, she talked about the original definition of courage. And it comes from the Latin cur, which means heart. And the original definition was to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. She also says that our capacity for wholeheartedness can never be greater than our willingness to be brokenhearted. So if we have armor built up, we're not willing to be hurt. And that's such a big point to remember. This is something I know that I did to myself along my journey. I was hurt and I was so afraid of feeling like that again that I built up crazy armor just to protect myself from feeling like that again. But the thing is, I was all right. I was always all right. And I will always be all right. So that's something to remember, that no matter what you're going through, you're going to be all right. This armor, if you're building one up, it's not serving you. It's only just keeping you from your true path, from moving forward, from your expansion. So our willingness to be hurt is what allows us to bring in immense love, because it's reciprocal, this arrangement. We can only love to the extent that we're willing to be hurt. And that takes a lot of vulnerability. Another thing I thought that was interesting is there are two different signs in sign language for the word vulnerability. One is a sign for weak in the knees. The other is an open heart gesture. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. So let's take a listen to the vulnerability expert herself, Brene Brown. This is a clip called Embracing Vulnerability from the Sounds True website. Take a listen.
We think about vulnerability as a dark emotion. You know, there are a lot of people who talk about positive emotions, negative emotions, dark emotions, light emotions. We think of vulnerability as a dark emotion. We think of it as the core of fear and shame and grief and disappointment, uncertainty, things that we do not want to feel, right? Things that I don't want to be vulnerable because that means I'm afraid. That means I'm uncertain. That means I'm at risk. I'm exposed. I'm in grief. So what we do is we armor up and we say, I do not want to slip into these dark emotions. I will not let myself be vulnerable. But here's what I learned from the research and certainly put into motion in my own life that was the most life-changing, is that vulnerability is the center of difficult emotion. But it's also the birthplace of every positive emotion that we need in our lives. Love, belonging, joy, empathy. How many of you would agree that we're in a serious empathy deficit in our culture today? Totally, right? No vulnerability, no empathy. In a culture where people are afraid to be vulnerable, you can't have empathy. You know, empathy is not a default response. If you share something with me that's difficult, in order for me to be truly empathic, I have to step into what you're feeling. And that's vulnerable. So there can be no empathy without vulnerability. Why do you think, in that example that I used a while ago, daughter comes home and says, tears, no one sat with me at lunch today. They made fun of what I was wearing. So-and-so won't talk to me. They poured my books out of my locker. And the response back is, I told you, I bought you all those cute jeans. Why aren't you wearing those jeans? And pull your hair back. Is that an empathic response? No, it's a shaming response. Could that shaming response be at that? Could a mother who absolutely adores her child respond with that shaming response? Please say yes. Don't kid yourself. I mean, come on. If you're a parent sitting in here, then you sure as hell know the answer to that is yes. But why? Why did that happen? Where was the access to vulnerability? Where was empathy? You can't access empathy if you're not willing to be vulnerable. So if my daughter comes home and tells that to me, guess what I have to do? I have to reactivate that sweaty palmed 7th grader who lives inside me. And I have to go, oh God, that's so hard. I'm so sorry. That's happened to me. That's happened to me when I was in middle school, and it's happened to me last week. Let's talk about it. But you can't get there without vulnerability. You can't fake empathy. Innovation and creativity, born of vulnerability. This is my favorite part. I talked about this I did another TED Talk this year in Long Beach, and I told the story that during 2011 and even this year, after the big TEDx Houston talk went viral, the big calls came from Fortune 500 companies. Oh my God, we loved your TED Talk. It was great. Please come talk to all of our senior leaders. And it's like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Like, we don't care. Just come and talk to us. Just if you could ixnay the shame and vulnerability talk. Every single conversation, barring maybe 10%. I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, we love, you're funny. You have this great research. I think there's a real fit with what we do. We don't really do, that kind of stuff around here. So if you could not mention vulnerability and shame. So just for fun, for grins, I would say, okay, so what would you like me to talk about? Yeah, fourth quarter earnings, like freaking don't even balance my checkbook. I'm not going to talk about that. So what do you want me to talk about? Well, the big issue, creativity and innovation. And change. We're going through a lot of change. Okay, so vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. And the reason that crisis is happening is because you're not talking about vulnerability. Imagine creativity and innovation without vulnerability. I'm asking you for a work product that has never been made before, that's completely innovative. I need you to be creative, and then I need you to present it to a group of people who are half of them are going to think it's stupid and not understand it. No vulnerability there.
Right? No vulnerability there. And what's interesting, when we look at situations from an outsider, we're looking at someone doing something big and creative, and maybe it took a lot of work, and we say, wow, what strength. But really, it's not strength at all. It's vulnerability. It's the ability to just be okay with whatever it is, and open-heartedly just put yourself out there, be as authentic as possible, and just do it. No fear. That is true strength. So we can switch this narrative of vulnerability being something dark, because really, this is where all of these beautiful things are birthed, like she said, of love, belonging, joy, empathy, courage. All of these positive emotions come from being vulnerable. And that's the true meaning of strength. Strength and vulnerability, same thing. So let's not be afraid to be vulnerable. Understand that it is our biggest strength. Go within, open our hearts, love each other, be kind to one another, and remember to be grateful. With that, everybody, I am out of imaginary time for the day. I'm going to leave you with a song. This is Alainario, Grace Fully. Until next time, love you all.
And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talk with Brandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.
Gracefully falling down like a river, like the water running on, moving the mountainside. You are stronger, you can shape it. Gracefully falling down like a river, like the water running on, moving the mountainside. You are stronger, you can shape it. And as you get to the fire, so be made, steam and ember into spire. Circle of stones, boulders broken, so you can hold them, so you can hold all the bones of old. Stories spoken, so you can be them, so we can breathe. Gracefully falling down like a river, like the water running on, moving the mountainside. You are stronger, you can shape it. Gracefully falling down like a river, like the water running on, moving the mountainside. You are stronger, you can shape it. In like a wave, out like a sign. Catch it on the wind, deep into your longing. Trench of tears offered open, so you can give them, so you can give to the ocean. Oh, moving moments, so we can hear them, so we can hear all these aching songs. Ancient swimmers, keepers of balance, givers of sound, like a